But we are looking in the wrong place. If you want to see monsters that defy physics, creatures with eyes on stalks, mouths on the ends of tentacles, and bodies that look like hallucinations, you don't need a spaceship. You need a time machine. 300 million years ago, Earth did not belong to us. It didn't even belong to the dinosaurs yet. It was ruled by biological experiments so strange that for decades, scientists couldn't even tell which end was the head. The invasion didn't come from the sky. It came from the mud. And the scariest part? These aliens were real. Welcome back to Primeval Life. Today we are diving into the problem children of evolution, the creatures that are so bizarre science still doesn't know what they are. From the worm that walked upside down to the Illinois monster that looks like a fever dream. If you enjoy exploring the dark corners of prehistory, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, let's meet the neighbors. Let's start in the Cambrian period, roughly 500 million years ago. This was the Big Bang of life. Nature was throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. And one of the things that stuck was a creature fittingly named Hallucigenia. When scientists first found fossils of this thing in the Canadian Rockies, they were baffled. It looked like a worm, but it had 7 pairs of long, sharp spikes on one side and 7 soft tentacles on the other. So the experts made a guess. They decided the spikes were legs. They drew it walking on these sharp stilt-like spines, using the tentacles on its back to catch food. It looked like a walking pincushion. For decades, this was the accepted truth, until someone looked closer and realized we were holding the map upside down. The spikes weren't legs, they were armor. This thing didn't walk on stilts, it walked on the soft tentacles. And the head? For years, we thought a dark blob on one end was the head. Turns out, that was bodily fluid squeezed out when it was crushed by mud. The real head was on the other side, a tiny, slender neck with a mouth lined with teeth and eyes. Imagine a worm covered in spikes, smiling at you with a throat full of needles. It wasn't big, but it proves a terrifying point. Evolution doesn't care about looking normal. But if you think Hallucigenia was weird, it had a neighbor that was even worse. Meet Opabinia. Picture a shrimp. Now take away the shell. Give it a soft body. Now give it 5 eyes. Not 2, not 4, 5. 2 pairs on the side and 1 single eye right in the middle of its forehead looking straight up. It had a 360-degree view of its alien world. But the eyes aren't the worst part. Below those 5 eyes, it didn't have a mouth, it had a nozzle, a long, flexible hose like a vacuum cleaner with a claw at the very end. It would swim along the bottom using those 5 mushroom-like eyes to scan for movement. When it saw prey, that hose would shoot out, the claw would snatch the victim and drag it back to a mouth hidden under its head. When the paleontologist Harry Whittington first revealed the reconstruction of Opabinia at a scientific conference in the 1970s, the room didn't gasp, they didn't clap. They laughed. The entire room of scientists laughed. They thought it was a joke. They thought he had made it up. But it wasn't a joke. It was real. And it was hunting. But those creatures were small. They were early experiments. Now we jump forward in time, 300 million years ago, to the murky coal swamp waters of what is now Illinois. Here lies a creature that has caused more arguments, more fights, and more confusion than any other fossil in history. It is the Tully Monster, Tully Monstrum gregarious. Try to visualize this. It has the body of a slug or a cuttlefish, but at the back it has a propulsion fin like a squid. At the front, it has a long, thin rod projecting out of its face. At the end of that rod is a claw with 8 teeth. But where are the eyes? They aren't on the head. Across the middle of its back is a rigid bar, like a handlebar on a bicycle, and on the ends of that bar are its eyes. It looks like a child took leftover parts from 5 different animals and glued them together in the dark. For 60 years, thousands of these fossils were found, and for 60 years, nobody knew what it was. Was it a worm? No. Was it a mollusk, like a snail? Maybe. Was it an arthropod, like a shrimp? The claw looked like it. The twist, in 2016, a major study claimed they had solved it. They looked at the eye pigment, they looked at a faint line running down its back, and they concluded the Tully Monster was a vertebrate. That means it had a spinal cord. That means it is related to us. Think about that. This alien thing with eyes on a stick and a claw for a mouth isn't a stranger. It's a distant cousin. It represents a branch of our own family tree that grew twisted and strange, and then was snapped off by extinction. We look at these creatures, Hallucigenia, Opabinia, Tully Monster, and we call them monsters. We call them aliens. They look wrong to our eyes. But why? Because they lost. Evolution is a lottery. 500 million years ago, there were dozens of body plans. There were creatures with 5 eyes, creatures with armor, creatures with claws on hoses. If history had gone slightly differently, if the dice had rolled another way, maybe the 5-eyed creatures would have won. Maybe today we would have eyes on stalks. Maybe we would have claws on the ends of our faces. We think we look normal, but only because we are the ones left standing to tell the story. To the Tully Monster, we are the aliens. So, which of these prehistoric aliens would you least like to meet in the water? The smiling worm or the creature with the vacuum hose mouth? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy exploring the dark corners of prehistory, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, let's meet the neighbors. Thanks for watching, and remember, the deep past is darker than you think.